When I got scammed out of that $3 grand, I was drunk. I'll tell you what happened next. I've made a lot of mistakes in Thailand, and I've started to come on to myself. This video was initially going to be about the mistakes foreigners make. The five most common mistakes foreigners make in Thailand. I asked Google, and this is what it came back to me with. By the way, this is not what this video is. It's about mistakes that I've made, and there's some colossal mistakes I've made. I'm going to share them with you. But this is what it came back to me with. Number 1, no health insurance. Number 2, poor legal advice. Number 3, unsafe rentals. And number 4, risky nightlife choices. And it says, small mistakes can become expensive. I mean, come on, of course. All of that stuff, you know, risky nightlife choices, whatever the hell it may be, we all know that. We all make those mistakes, and we continue to make those mistakes when you have a few beers on you, no matter what you say. I made one this morning, but I'll tell you about the one I made this morning. I almost made this morning, and then I'll get into the colossal mistake that cost me $3,000. $3,000. This morning, just before I got into the $3,000 scam, it was a complete scam, and I lost $3,000. This morning I was out for a walk, not a million miles away from here, and a very attractive 30-something-year-old passed me by, and I just normally bid people the time of day. I said, "Good morning," and she stopped. I said, "Good morning," and she said, "Do you want a massage?" And I said, "Well, you know, does the Pope say mass?" You know, that kind of thing. So I said, yeah. So her massage place was around the corner. She had just got off a motorcycle taxi, and she was just starting her day, and she was probably rubbing her hands saying, "Oh, I got a customer straight away," before I even went into the place. But she asked me to wait a moment, so I did. And it was one of those, it could have gone all the way, let's say, if you know what I mean. It would have been a very nice massage. And I was thinking this to myself when she quoted me $400 baht for an hour for an oil massage. And while I was waiting, I just said to myself, she'd gone in to get herself ready, and I was sitting outside to see on a bench outside the shop. And when I was waiting, I said, "Look, I'm not into this. It is a mistake, because you go into a place like that and it's 400 baht. And then on the flip side, if you know what I mean, on the flip side, it could turn out to be, and it would turn out to be, 1,000 baht plus." And I just wasn't going down that road. I just said, that's a mistake. And they're the mistakes I used to make. Anyway, that happened to me this morning. This $3,000 mistake happened to me within the first 4 to 5 days of arriving in Thailand. So, my $3,000 mistake. I used to live and work in the Middle East prior to coming to Thailand. And obviously I'd made friends while I was there. And I kept in touch with one or two of them. And one of those individuals, who will remain nameless, moved to Thailand. I had moved back to Ireland, and he had moved here. And then a few years later, we kind of got in touch again on Facebook. And I had amassed a fair few bob to facilitate my migration abroad. And at the time I was playing it in my mind, you know, South America, Southeast Asia, Southern Europe. But you see, he was living and working here, well, apparently working here. So we were talking on Facebook over a period of a couple of weeks, and he said he had an apartment in Bangkok. He said he had an apartment. in Bangkok. And to cut a long story short, I had arranged to fly over here with a view to testing the water to see what the crack was, and I would stay in his apartment. And the mistake I made prior to all this was I had told him that I had a substantial amount of money to kickstart my life in Thailand or wherever else it may be, you see. And he said to me, you wouldn't be able to fix me up with a loan. And we agreed $2,000. So that was the arrangement. I'd fly into Bangkok. He gave me his details over Facebook, and I would get a taxi from Suvarnabhumi to his apartment. So I woke up one February morning, early February, on a cold, frosty morning in Dublin, and I got a taxi to Dublin Airport Terminal 2. I caught my flight and I arrived in Bangkok 15 or 16 hours later. I remember going through immigration was a long affair. That was even then. That was 2013. It was a long affair. But it was not streamlined. I got through it eventually. And this was about 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning. Got into a taxi. I showed him where it was. It was Sukhumvit 33. The Beverly Apartments, Sukhumvit 33. It's still there. And the taxi driver took me. He said, there it is, or whatever he said in Thai. I had absolutely no Thai, very little Thai even now, but I had absolutely no Thai then. And I remember getting out wearing a sports jacket and a pair of jeans and a pair of cowboy boots. I bought a pair of Sanchos in Dublin, Sanchos, the long ones, for €450. I still have them. I wouldn't wear them here, it's just totally impractical. There's me looking like a pork chop at a bar mitzvah. There's me looking like a pork chop at a bar mitzvah. Sports jacket, shirt, dress kind of jeans, Levi 501s, and me cowboy boots. So looking like the typical Farang with me bags and me cowboy boots and me sports jacket and all the rest of it. Standing on Sukhumvit 33 outside this apartment block. I called them with my Irish phone. I called them and there was no answer. And I said, and there was continually no answer. I was there for about half an hour. And I said to myself, how well do I really know this guy? I've flown halfway across the world. He was my contact. And I realised I'd only known him briefly 5 years previously, and only rekindled this acquaintanceship and only rekindled this acquaintance via Facebook less than a month and a half before or prior. I'm starving, I'm going to go in here. Okay. Kawa Kintani and Ben video Condio Dog, okay? It's okay, okay. So just ask permission there if I can video. I always do that. So we're going to go in, grab something to eat, and I'll tell you what happened next. So I've stationed myself at an eatery. Come here, menu on a cup, mate. Only? Okay, thank you. So I've stationed myself in an eatery, and it's very, very well priced. I can tell you that for nothing. That's all in Thai. That looks lovely. So does that. It's really nice. I'd say I'd have to go. Any Moonacrap or guy? Okay. And come me Pepsi Cola Namkang. Coke Namkang. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. I know, any noon. My out me. Any noon. Okay, thank you. So I'd gone for something with 2 fried eggs. Actually, I knew a girl once with 2 fried eggs, if you know what I mean. I was standing on the street, and I think it was a half an hour past, and he eventually answered. And he came down to the door, or to reception, or whatever. And you know when you know when you know. Thank you so much. Thank you. He wasn't pleased to see me, or he was indifferent. That's what it was. He was indifferent. So, but you see, these are the mistakes we make. The red flags that are flying in the back of our heads when we're meeting people and we ignore our gut feeling. Anyway, I knew there was something amiss, but I got me bags and baggage and I moved up to his room. Now I can't remember every single detail of that first morning. I think I slept. I did. I slept for a while because of the travelling. And that evening we went down to Soy 4 in Nana, and he wanted to show me, being the greenhorn for what it was like down there. And he was a real wheeler dealer. He fancied himself as a wheeler dealer. And this is not an attempt to, let's say, speak in a derogatory fashion about anybody else. It's just what happened. We went to Nana, and I can tell you straight up, nothing happened. I think I just went home that night, or home and went back to his place. And I proceeded to solidify my time here and get myself sorted over the next few days. I got myself into a position where I could open a bank account. But prior to that, I was getting very frustrated because I couldn't. Now, 2013 is a long time ago, and things are a lot different now compared to what they were then. But at that stage, I was in a position to open a bank account. But I couldn't because there was certain bureaucratic pieces of red tape. And I was getting very frustrated. And this is over the course of that weekend, the Saturday to Sunday. He said to me, "Why don't you put your money into my account?" Now, that's as true as God. "Why don't you put your money into my account? And then you'll have access to it anytime you want." Now, he must have thought I was broke. He must have thought I came down the last load. Needless to say, I declined his offer. That was the Sunday. On the Monday, through all the to-ing and fro-ing, I eventually got myself into a position to open a bank account. And I remember the person I dealt with, by the way, the bank manager, is now my wife. But the first time I met her, I was opening a bank account and I didn't even know her. I remember she smiled at me and she told me something about what she was doing that weekend. And I remembered her, and I took her card. Anyway, that's another story. But I'd opened the bank account, and I'd started the process of bringing money over from Ireland via DHL. You had to do it, when I say via DHL, I had to have a physical instruction detailing the account I wanted the money taken from in Ireland to the account I wanted the money to go in Thailand, and confirming everything was above board. And it couldn't be faxed, it couldn't be scanned, it couldn't be emailed. It had to be sent physically by via DHL. And I think that took about 3 days, I'm not sure. But I'd opened the account and the money came in, say, on the Wednesday, and I was still with him. And I forget what we were doing. He was off doing his stuff, or whatever stuff he was doing. He was off doing his stuff. Let's say the money came in on the Wednesday. It came in 2 lots. There was a limit to the amount you could bring in any one transaction. So I brought in one substantial amount, and there was another substantial amount to follow. So he then said to me, "What about the $2,000 you promised me?" After all, I was staying in his apartment, he was showing me around, he was an old acquaintance. Thank you. He was an old acquaintance. So the two of us marched down to the bank, which was around the corner. Thank you so much. Thank you. Which was around the corner. By the way, I show you what I get. This is not a food review channel. It looks a lot bigger on the menu. Oh, that's very hot. I feel like a man in Falling Down, Michael Douglas. There it is there. I won't tilt it too much because it'll slide off the tray. You can see it there. They look like quail eggs, to be honest with you. Anyway, we marched down to the bank, and this is what I'm talking about. The feeling. Thank you so much. I don't know what that's for. As we were walking in to the bank, he had a baseball cap on, and he had it on very, very tight, really tight, like down to here kind of thing. And he sat beside me as I sat down to talk to my future wife, but I didn't know then, and asking her to transfer. By the way, he changed it. This is what I meant to say. When we got into the bank, he said, make it an even 100,000. That's $3,000, 100,000 Thai Baht. And I foolishly said, okay. So, sat down. He sat at my right. I was sitting here, the baseball cap down. And I remember my wife, who was not my wife at the time, who didn't even know me, but she remembered me from the previous couple of days that I'd opened the account. And she kind of looked at me as if in a questioning kind of way, do you really know what you're doing? Because she didn't. After the event, years after, she said to me, she knew exactly he was not to be trusted. That's what she said. So anyway, so we sat down. He had the baseball cap pulled down. My wife-to-be, well, she wasn't my wife-to-be then, she was just a bank official, but when we got married. But I remember she said this to me afterwards, that she looked at him and she looked at me and she gave me a look as if a disapproving look. She didn't trust me. So she did that. I signed whatever I signed and did whatever I did, and she took out 100,000 baht out of the drawer. I know it's $3,000, but it's 100,000 baht. It looks a lot. I'm going to try this. Very nice. I should have gone easy on the chili flakes. So she handed him the 100,000 baht, and he had a bag with him, and he put it in the bag, and he got up, he said, "I'll see you later," and walked away. I never saw anyone move so quickly. And then it felt like the ground had opened up and swallowed me. And she was looking at me. I never felt so embarrassed. It was obvious what had happened. Anyway, I said to her, thanks very much. 3 grand later, walked out the door of the bank, and I called him, and there was no answer. So I went back to the apartment, and he wasn't there. And I forget at what stage of the day or night he came back that evening, only to criticise me for breaking a glass in the apartment, and said it wasn't his apartment, and that he was going, and he'd advised me to get out as well. And I said, well, where are we going to keep in contact? I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Never heard from him again. That was February 2013, and to this day, I know he exists still. He's visible in the business world, but I'm not going to mention his name. If he watches this, he'll know who he is. But that's how I got ripped off by him, and that was a Farang. What do you got? How you doing? They say you should watch out for Thai scams. It's the Farang you should watch out for. God, this is nice. It's kind of pork with fried egg and pork with fried egg. What can I say? The worst kind of scam in Thailand is a scam that Farang do to Farang. And why do they do it? Because they can. Because it's very easy. Because they know you're fresh off the boat. You tell them your business. If you ask me about a mistake, don't tell. My mother used to say it to me. My mother used to say it to me so often. She used to say, A friend of mine that I used to have years ago, she says, that fella's right hand doesn't know what his left hand's doing. But that's the, if I was to list, forget about what Google says to me. If I had to list 5 mistakes that Farang make, one of them would be imparting information in a bar in Bangkok to another Farang, imparting personal information. Because that's where you're going to get snookered. Or that's where you could snooker yourself. This is very pleasant. It's only 45 baht. And the Coke, so that's probably going to be 75 baht. It was in a Chinese. That's the chili flakes. I was in a Chinese place yesterday. Bracha Bombay. It's about, what, 5 kilometers from here. 288 baht. Oh. So that's how I got ripped off. And that's the mistake I made. It was not necessarily because of my interaction with that guy and going to the bank with him that day to give me $3 grand that caused me to meet my wife. I had met her 3 or 4 days fucking chili flakes. I had met her 3 or 4 days previously. But going back to transfer the money and going back to give him the $3 grand meant I saw her again. So maybe in a way, if that had not happened, maybe I wouldn't be married to her today. Do you know, a lot of the Farang that I meet, I won't say meet, that I see where I live, we go into 7-Eleven, they'll see the odd one. We, both of us, both Farang, in that situation at that time, would be lucky if we passed the time of day. Do you ever notice that? That you tend to avoid, when you're alone, you tend to avoid other Farang. You want to be left here. Do you know what it is? It's because I'm anonymous here. Guys don't know, they can't suss me out. But if another Farang came in, he said I'm from Sweden, or he says I'm from Austria, or he says I'm from the Netherlands, I'd be able to suss him out fairly quickly. And he'd suss me out fairly quickly. So I'm uncomfortable with speaking with other Farang. And that was the rock I perished on. I've lost about 250,000 Thai Baht to scams. When I say I have, that's when I first came here. When I really didn't know what I was doing. I trusted people. I think that generally speaking, Thai people are very trustworthy, very honest. So, in the true tradition of this, we're going to reconvene elsewhere. I'll just finish this off. Let's find out what the damage is. Thank you. All right, man. Scan okay? Okay. Thank you. All right, man. Okay. พอมีมีคนไทยเราช่วยคนไทย Okay. Hug sip. Thank you so much. Okay. So that was 66 baht. How can you go wrong? That meal was absolutely well, it was nice. It was really nice. Could have been a bit bigger, but it was nice. I've got some time on my hands, so I'm going to go and get my car washed. You're welcome to come with me, but I'm going to say that I haven't washed it in ages. She's always getting on to me about it. The bird shit on it and all the rest of it. Oh, by the way, just to say, that's another mistake. Washing your car during the rainy season in Thailand. I mean, it's beautiful now, but 5 o'clock comes, we could be in the middle of a monsoon. There was other scams that I fell victim of. But the biggest scam, I wouldn't say the biggest, but the most common scam you'll fall victim of is girls in bars. I mean, You're asking for trouble when you go down that slippery slope. So we've come to get the car washed. And I can tell you, before I go into the next thing on this video, I hate sitting on my wallet. Not that there's anything in it, it's just uncomfortable. Before we go into the next thing in this video, that meal I just had was nice, but it wouldn't fill a hole in your tooth. So on the way here, I stopped into 7-Eleven. I got myself a Birdie 3-in-1 coffee, and I got 2 Sambos. Yes, Sambos, not Sarnies, Sambos. Oishi, which is the Japanese word for delicious. There you go, Oishi. Ham and cheese. There you go, ham and cheese Sambo. But listen, you'll be a bit of a Sambo if you fall into the trap of the Sheilas down on Suckenberg or in Pattaya or wherever else you want to go. I'm saying most, I'm not saying any of them in particular, just saying most of them are dead sound. But I have had experience of certain individuals that frequent those places of the female variety that would, as my mother used to say, take your eye out of your head and come back for the eyelash. This is lovely. Honestly, that food, that place left me with a want. Just right. If you're wondering what happened to that fella who scammed me out of the $3,000, I believe he fecked off down to Phuket and he gallivanted. I believe he crashed the car, and I believe he hightailed his way back to his home country of the UK, and that's where the story is today on that. Just saying about Nana and the girls there. 99.9% of them are dead sound and straight up. Just saying. But the drunker an individual is, the more likely somebody else is going to see an opportunity. And if you go down there drunk out of your head, she'll be, well, put it this way, you're going to leave yourself wide open. When I got scammed out of that $3,000, I was drunk on enthusiasm. I was drunk on excitement. And I didn't listen to the caution that was going on in my head. That tastes like another one. So, before I forget, and I say this out of complete and utter gratitude, thank you very much, Maz, for helping me out and buying me a coffee. It's because of your generosity and support that I'm able to produce videos like this. I really, really appreciate it. And lads, if you want to help me out, all you got to do is scan the QR code and click the link below in the description. I really, really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this video, and I'm sure you have because you're still here now, if you haven't done so already, click the like button, the share button, subscribe button. Do all those wonderful things, and I'll bring it back another wonderful video very soon. God, it's